And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. She is a popular and frequent library presenter and has had years of experience helping people with their careers. Talking today about networking and interviewing tips and strategies, Liz Mohler.
Thank you, Oleg. Nice to see everybody out there. I know that this is a cold day, not as bad as yesterday in Los Angeles when we had rain and hail. That was absolutely crazy. I am based here in Los Angeles, and I've been doing workshops at the public libraries for over 10 years. So hopefully some of you have seen me in person. I'm one of those extroverts that really misses everybody. So it's hard for me to be working from home with a green screen. It's just not the real thing as having you all there. But to just give you a little bit of my background, I am a career coach. I'm actually now a certified life coach. And the program that I'm going to do for today is all about the number one most effective way to get a job, which is networking, a little bit about interviewing, a little bit about answering those difficult interview questions, and also challenging all of you to kind of shift your paradigm or pivot. I know we've heard that a lot during these COVID days about pivoting to look at the world a little differently, because it is a different world. It's a very different world out there today. So hopefully I'm going to challenge you to think outside the box, to kind of expand your thoughts and ideas about the world of work. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and ideas, but I really want to encourage you to chat. Chat with your neighbors in the chat box. If you see somebody commenting on something and you want to comment back to them, you can find their name, you can chat with them. This will be uploaded to YouTube, so I'll try to read the information that I have on my slides, and I'll kind of walk you through that a little bit. So just relax, grab your cup of tea, sit back. We'll be together till about 12:15, and then I'll stay on and answer questions. And I've also got my contact information in my slides. Sometimes you can just pick up your cell phone and you can take a picture of the screen, or you can do the old Shift Command 3. That's one of the hacks I'll give you. Shift Command 3, and you can screen grab a picture of the slide that I'm showing. So we're going to go ahead and share screens so that I can give you a little bit of a slideshow, because this is who I am. As a career coach for over 20 years, I've been helping people realize their potential, visualize their goals, and then actualize their dreams. And this is a path that I take on a morning run down to the beach in Playa del Rey. Gets me out of the house, gets my juices flowing, gets some energy going. A little bit more about me. Who am I? I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin. Go Packers, go Badgers. I've got a husband who's in the internet startup world. He's an entrepreneur, consultant in sales, and 2 kids. One's an artist, graduated from UCLA, and one's a lacrosse player, and he is at Boston University, and we hope there will be a lacrosse season. It's really challenging. Some of you that have kids at home know how hard it is to do homeschooling, and if you've got college kids at home, it's also challenging. So sometimes we just have to pivot. We have to take things outside to find space to work. So I hope you've got a nice space to work, a pen to take notes, some paper, get your computers ready, because we're going to go ahead and get started. Lots to cover today: the roadmap to success, the 3 phases of the job search, and then we're going to dig right into interviewing questions, as well as informational interviewing questions. And then I'm going to challenge you to think about things from the perspective of the boss. So what's the boss looking for? And what are the 3 stages that you need to know about in order to get hired? And of course, my favorite is the $1 million job search question. So that's a lot to get you work ready. I know the library's done a great job with the gig economy last week, and the resources at the library are fantastic, and it's free. Get the library card and get online. So the way that I look at the world of work is that it's kind of an exploration. It's going out on an adventure, and it's asking yourself 3 questions. It's asking yourself to take a minute to realize who you are. Realize what you bring to the table so that you know who you are. And then phase 2 is to visualize what's out there in the world of work. Who's out there in the world that needs your help? And there's a lot of companies out there that are hiring right now, especially at the end of the year. They're trying to revamp and restructure how work is being done. So there's a lot of companies out there. And then we've got to get you in the 3rd phase, which is taking action. where you actually do the work. And so we're going to talk today about how to make those connections. But as we get started, I really want to give you sort of a roadmap. And I used to use the word roadmap to get to the road to job search success. The reality is it's a windy path. There's no straight way to get a job. Just like there's no two people alike, there's no two jobs alike. So all of us are going to have our own trudge up the mountain. We're all going to have to carve our own path. But I hope to share with you today some of my Lizisms, some of my little nuggets and words of wisdom as you start to think about it. As I said, I like this to be interactive. So I would usually be standing in front of all of you saying, let's visualize, let's take a deep breath, and let's imagine that our goal is the top of the mountain. Our goal is a fantastic job, an incredible career, the lifestyle that we want. That's the goal. So when we take a step back and we go, all right, the goal's up there. What do we need to have in order to get a good job? What do you think you need to have in order to succeed in the world of work? If you're a parent, you've probably given some advice to your kids. If you want to get a good job, stay in school. And one of my first Lizisms for today is going to be yes. The more you learn, the more you earn. Write that down. The more you learn, and then circle, the more you earn. And nowadays, 2020, with COVID, we may not be being in the classroom, but we're going to be online. We're going to be using things like lynda.com, or we're going to be using the internet. We're going to be going to YouTube videos, because that will get us on the path to a great career. But is it enough to have a degree? I've got a master's degree. I went to undergrad in Madison, Wisconsin. I went to grad school in Tucson, Arizona. And I recently went back and got certified as a life coach. I'm constantly learning. That's not enough. We have to have the knowledge that we get from life. We have a lot of knowledge that we bring to the table. Is that enough? No, we have to apply it and use it to sharpen our skills, both our soft skills and our hard skills, and take inventory of what those are. But is that enough? No, we've got to use our experiences. It's not just learning it in a classroom. It's not just gaining the knowledge. It's not just sharpening the skills. It's actually having those life experiences. And sometimes we get life experiences just from the families we're born into, whether we're born into a cross-cultural family and we're raised to be bilingual. We have those experiences that we bring to the table. But take notes on this. The number one most important thing you need to have, and the number one most effective way to get a job, is this. It's your network. Or as my son likes to say, networking is one letter away from not working. So we all have choices every day. Are we going to get back on Netflix, or are we going to get on the Zoom, get on a phone call, text a friend, and start to network? And networking is just a fancy word for making connections. It's reaching out and having a conversation. So I have a whole keynote workshop on networking, because it's my opinion that you've got to make those connections, because it's the connections that lead to other connections that lead to other connections. And it's not just what you know, and it's not just who you know, but if you parlay that even further forward, it's knowing people that know what you know, that can then make some of these connections for you. So it is a challenge. But let's get back to the basics. The real basics to being a successful job seeker is that you have to understand what the 3 keys to success are. So number 1, people aren't going to hire you if they don't know you. And that's why networking is so important. But that's not enough. They may know who you are, but they may not like you. And so we have to give people an opportunity to get to know the best part of us, the best sides of us. Because getting to know each other, starting to like each other, they may not hire you unless they really trust you. So if you think back to different jobs you've gotten, you can probably take a look through your own resume and say to yourself, how many jobs did I get based on trust? And for many of us, the very first job we ever had, our very first boss was probably a parent telling us to do chores, or a parent offering us to work for somebody else. So your parents probably impacted you on where you worked your very first job, whether it was babysitting or taking care of someone's dog or whatever it was. You got that job because of the trust, because of what that was. So let's dig into this a little bit and try to help you figure out and focus on phase one. The 3 keys to figuring out for yourself who you are is to take inventory and ask yourself, well, what are some things I already know? Do you know, as I said, how to speak a second language, or maybe some computer programming, or you know how to create a website, or you have skills with tools and different machines, or you like working with data, or maybe you've got an education that's a liberal arts education. So you know a lot about history or psychology or literature, or maybe you've been in a situation where you've received some sort of training. Think back to certificates you've gotten, a license you've gotten, an online level that you've gotten. I've got clients working on Salesforce, and they're now calling it badges because they earn them from watching YouTube videos and getting skills. So knowledge is important, and it's like I'm pulling it out of you. Sometimes in my career coaching programs, when I'm working one-on-one with a client, I call it a career checkup. And I say it's kind of like going to the doctor, except I'm a little bit like a dentist because I'm pulling to get those gold nuggets in phase one to help answer that question, who are you? What is it that you know how to do? But then I dig deeper because it's not just what you know how to do. I want to know, what do you like? What gets you excited? What are some of your interests? What are some of your hobbies? What personal experiences have you had? Have you had the luxury of traveling and experiencing a different culture? Have you had hardship? Have you learned from the school of hard knocks? If you've been living on the street, you've got some experiences that can relate to somebody else who might be in a similar struggle or a similar challenge. Who are some of the people you've interacted with? Nobody gets a job alone. We all need to have that support. There's a boss or a client or a customer. Even if you're working with things, maybe you're cleaning houses, there's still people involved. So asking yourself, if you're in a career transition phase, who are the people that I want to work with? What are the experiences I like? What are some of my hobbies or interests that maybe I can parlay into something? My son's a lacrosse player. Who knew that his hobby of lacrosse would get him a scholarship at Boston University to play lacrosse and part-time jobs coaching other kids to play lacrosse? It's these interests that get us excited. I have an interest in public speaking. I love standing in front of a crowd. And one day I was standing in front of a crowd and I was lecturing, and somebody came up afterwards and they said, "You're really good at that. Can we pay you to come speak to our organization?" And I said, "Pay me? I love to do this. I would have given this away for free." It's digging in to figure out, who are you? And not just what you know and what you like, but who are you that I can trust? What are those personal traits about you that have been part of you as since you were a kid? What are those core values that maybe were instilled with your family upbringing? And yet sometimes our core values will shift and they'll change a little bit. So at any stage in your life, whether you're a recent high school graduate looking for a summer job or a summer internship, or a recent college grad, or someone midlife, or someone in transition because they've been furloughed or laid off. I'm currently working with a lot of Marriott executives. All those hotels have closed, and I'm coaching Marriott executives, Marriott event planners to think about, what are your core values? What do you trust that you can do? And then who else is out there in the world that needs someone like you? And how do we transition to that? Because every day we have an opportunity to engage, to connect with people. And all those connections might potentially be an interview. Whether you realize it or not, a family reunion, a Zoom call with old classmates is an opportunity for them to interview you. And they're going to ask you one major question. And so we're going to dig into that today. If you've been on an interview lately, you've probably been asked this question. And if I was to open up the chat box and say, Oleg, see if anybody can guess what the question is that you're going to get when you get to an interview, the very first question they ask you, or when you're out meeting a neighbor, maybe during COVID, you're going on a long walk and someone's walking their dog and they pass you on the street and they've passed you every day since March, they may ask you the same question. And the question is, so tell me about yourself. Yeah, tell me who you are. And That's a legitimate question. People want to get to know you. They want to decide if they like you, see if they trust you. So they're going to ask you, so tell me about yourself. And usually at this point in a coaching program, I would ask my clients, how do you answer that in an interview? When somebody asks you in an interview, so tell me about yourself, what do you say? Do you answer it this way? By telling them about your education, where you went to school, where you grew up, what knowledge you have, the skills. Maybe you're going to tell them your work experience, your first job, second job, your last job. Might even tell them in an interview why you're there, the connection that you have, the network that set you up for that interview. But when you think about it, when you're asking that question about going back to, tell me about yourself, and you're at an interview, the problem with answering that question that way is, do they already know all that? How do they already know all that? They may know that because it's on your resume, where you went to school, your work history, the skills you have, the knowledge you have. In an interview, you've got a very short amount of time to help people get to know you and to help them figure out if they like you. So we need to dig a little deeper. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me who you are. That's phase one of getting a career exploration, getting on the road to success, is figuring out how to answer that question so you dig a little deeper so they can trust you. So one way that I've set this up is that I coach my clients to go back and use this platform. Go ahead and, take a glance at your resume, and you can give people a 30-second elevator pitch. This is what my degree is. This is what my knowledge is. This is my area of expertise. This is my most recent experience. This is who I am. And you can do a 30-second walk through the resume. And most HR professionals, human resources, they're gonna accept that because that's the norm historically. But now we're in a different world where we want to know more. So I've given you a little bit of a script, and you can take a screenshot of this, and I will send an evaluation at the end of the course where I'm going to ask you, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? What do you like to do? And for some of you, that's a big question. I don't know what I want to do. If I knew what I wanted to do, I would be there, which is why with some of my clients, I use interest inventories, and it's a forced choice. Would you rather collect seashells at the seashore, or would you rather be a teacher helping small children? Would you rather work with machinery and automobiles and parts, or would you rather be a political activist on a campaign trail? What are you passionate about? I'm also curious about what people are currently doing. What are you doing during COVID? Are you learning to cook new meals? Are you being creative around your house? Are you putting yourself through an online program? Are you volunteering? People want to know, what have you been up to? They also want to know, where have you been in the past? And yet that can be a combination of things that you choose. You get to choose what education you share or what work history you share. If you've been working in a job that you hate, but you have a new job that you want to do, you can be tight on that category and very quickly talk about the fact that you were an accountant or a bookkeeper or did payroll. But quickly transition to the last question, which is in the future. I would like to. And this is your opportunity to take a look at where you want to go. What's ahead for you? Because that will lead somebody towards a career goal. And if you don't know the specific goal, maybe an industry or maybe a particular company. If you do know you really want to work in Amazon, in advertising sales, or whatever that position is, you want to lead the conversation to where it is you want to go. And the reason we want to have these conversations is because that's how we're going to connect with people. That's how we're going to get the opportunity to bond. And I've just stopped sharing for a second because I really want to just take a pause there and have you take a minute and jot down, or maybe go back to your notes and sort of circle the $1 million question of, so tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you want to have shine? What do you want to have come forward in that thought so that you can go ahead? And it's important to sort of take the time to go through phase one, because this is the most important. It's all about you. You have a choice of where you go to work. You have a choice every day of the opportunities that are out there that you want to pursue. Some of us feel like we're a little desperate. And I tell my clients, there's another Lizism. It's easier to get a job if you have a job. So be doing something that gets you on the road to job search success, something that will give you some experience or give you some knowledge or give you some skills. I'm a huge fan of volunteering. I do a lot of volunteer work with the Airport Marina Counseling Center because I believe that mental health is as important as physical health. So in a time of COVID, if you look at where you are and what you're thankful for, is there someone else you can help? Someone that needs help with accounting or grocery shopping or childcare, or what is it that you have as a gift? It's a little bit like asking yourself in phase 1, so tell me about yourself. Who are you? And then in phase 2, who's out there that needs your help? And how can you position yourself to be helpful, to reach out, to really help them? And yet I get clients who say to me, that's all well and good. If I knew what I wanted to do, I could be doing it. But it's really hard to answer that question, that $1 million question. What exactly are you looking for? And I call that the $1 million question because you're going to be asked that as you start networking. Because human nature is people love to help. And they will try to help and they will try to push you in different directions. And if you've ever been pushed into a job, if you've ever taken a job you didn't like, you can relate to this. Because statistically, here's another Lizism, most people will quit or get fired in the first 30 days. They'll get pushed into a job, they'll get desperate, they'll answer that ad online, they'll take the job, and then maybe a week, maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe 8 hours later, they'll say, what am I doing here? This is not what I wanted to do. And I will challenge my clients that get themselves into these stuck positions. Did you take the time to ask yourself your $1 million question? What exactly am I looking for? What's important to me? That's the challenging question. And it's really a question about core values. So in thinking about core values, it's important to ask yourself that $1 million question. And I'm going to go back out here to my show, and I'm going to say there's lots of $1 million question challenges, but this is my favorite. So write this down and circle it and put question marks with dollar signs. What exactly are you looking for? You may want independence or self-fulfillment or friendship or what's important to you. And I've picked 20. And I've put them on a list. And these are the 20 values that most people say are important. But what if I was to say you can only have 5 of these key values? Go ahead and take a minute. I'm going to read them out loud in case you're watching this on YouTube with your headphones in and you're not, or you're listening to it, but you don't see the screen. You can choose 5. So independence, being the expert. Number 1, independence. Number 2, expert. Number 3, activity. Number 4, knowledge. Number 5, wealth. Number 6, education. Number 7, self-fulfillment. Number 8, duty. Number 9, nurturing. Number 10, friendship. Number 11, family. 12, stability. 13, fun. 14, beauty. 15, leadership. 16, creativity. 17, health. 18, adventure, 19, security, and 20 is location. And I'm going to be quiet for a moment and let you choose your 5. And I'm going to try and post a poll on our WebEx with the letter that corresponds with the 5 you chose. So you can write down the word or you can write down the letter. And I'll give you a moment. If you're finished and you'd like, you could text your 5 values into the chat and share with other people in the room. You could write those 5 words down in the chat. And if you think this is hard, when I work with private clients, I give them over 50 values and I tell them they have to narrow them to 5. The one above stability is family, meeting the needs of family, flex time, and work. Sometimes you have to pick your picture up and move it around. Anybody having difficulty limiting it to 5? Why do you think I have you limit it to 5? The answer is because we can't have it all. We need to focus. We need to narrow our choices down and start to focus on the question and help ourselves figure out what exactly are you looking for.
Hey, Liz, we're getting some responses here.
Okay, great.
This is lovely.
Good.
So we've got some knowledge from one respondent. Then we've got, let's see, independence, self-fulfillment, stability, security, location.
Great.
Okay, expertness, knowledge, friendship, self-fulfillment. Flexibility be one value?
I love flexibility. I think that's a huge value. And I think that people that value flexibility are going to do really well during COVID because we need people that are flexible. And if that's a skill set of yours, then you're going to do very well. I was looking for the place to put a poll together, and I know we created one, but I don't see it as an option. So I'm so glad you guys are posting them in the chat. Gosh, we've got 100 people here. This is impressive. We've got over 100 people in the Zoom call. And as you can see, different people value different things.
So people can't see, the audience can't see what everybody else is posting, but I just want to let people know that people are posting, and looking at these responses, you can really kind of tell about what's important to somebody. Almost from even if you just start with 1, 2, 3, by the third one, there's sort of a trend, which is really interesting, Liz. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Is there anybody that wrote down all 5 of them?
There's I've got a lot of people have chosen 5.
Okay.
Here in the chat. Yeah, people are posting. So like here's one: location, leadership, wealth, fun, and family.
Oh, I love that one. I'm going to use that as an example. Thank you so much, whoever has put that on the list. I call that the golden ticket is the first one. I'm going to give you all a bonus of the 3 rules of real estate. What are the 3 rules of real estate? Location, location, location. I was once doing outplacement for bank executives, and I reached out over the phone and talked to a bank executive, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're my career coach. I know exactly what I want to do." I said, "Great, you're a banking executive. There's lots of opportunities to get into other industries and other jobs." She said, "Yes, I want to be an actress." And my first bit of advice to her was, you have to move. Los Angeles, New York, if you want to be an actress, location, location, location. So that's a bonus. It's also helpful if you think about the fact that you're likely to, especially if you live in Los Angeles, you're more likely to get a job closer to home. Because if somebody sees an application and it says you live in Santa Monica and the job is in San Clemente, they may not hire you because they don't trust that you're going to drive from Santa Monica to San Clemente, which is about a 2-hour drive. However, we're now in COVID. So we now have broadened and opened up your ability to work almost anywhere in the world. If you can log on to a computer that you can get from the library, you can be a virtual assistant. You can be anywhere you want. And location, location, location it's more of a growth spurt as you start to imagine, what is the location of where I work? Do I want to work in an office downtown, or do I want to work out in the country on a farm with animals? So I love that one. Location, leadership, money, fun, and family. And yet that person's on the call and they need a job. And the good news is I'm a career coach, so I know of a lot of jobs. So whoever that person is, or whoever's on the line that also wants location and leadership and money and family and fun, if I was to say, yeah, I have a great job for you. This is going to be a fantastic job. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to a warehouse and you're going to operate a forklift and you're going to do packaging with boxes, lots of different kinds of boxes, and it pays minimum wage. Would you like that job? Probably a lot of silence. The thought of someone who's going to get paid minimum wage to load and unload boxes by themselves in a warehouse might not fit their core values, because they want to make more money. They want something that's a little more fun. They want a job that's going to keep them healthy for their family. And they want leadership, management, supervision. They want to be responsible for other people. So that would not be a good job for that person. The number one thing that you're looking for is the number one thing that a boss is looking for. The number one reason you're going to get hired is also the number one reason you're going to get fired. And I call this the fit, F-I-T. It's all about the fit. And the challenge is to figure out, what does a fit look like? What does it look like with respect to, what you want to do? Because we're now looking at it with respect to, now I've got to get to my slides here because I have a good slide on this. What does it look like when we look at what's on our values list? And when we look at what's on our values list, that can give us more of a direction to where it is we want to go. I'm trying to go on my dashboard back to my slideshow, which is not working as quickly as I was like. There it is. So all of these 20 values are important. It's nice that Oleg can look at the list. Did anybody have security or stability on the list?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one that came up. With along security, stability, family those often came together.
Yes, and I bring that up because
safety too.
Sometimes we value what we don't have. We value what we've lost. When I used to do outplacement, when I would go into a company that was downsizing or laying people off, back in the day when I was doing with the aerospace, and when I do it with my Marriott employees, what have they just lost? They've lost that security and stability. The rug's been pulled out from underneath them. So I coach them that they have to find that security and stability from within, that we no longer live in the generation of our parents. My father, who went to college, got a degree, went to Harvard, got a PhD, and went back to a university and started teaching as a professor, and then 45 years later retired with a gold watch. Those days and times are past. We now live in a world of instability. We now live in what I call the U economy. The U as in Uber. The U as in you can be your own employee because you can go on Fiverr and you can go online and post that you can do virtual assistant work. And I know we just did the gig economy the week before. The world of work has changed because things are happening so quickly that people are changing jobs more often. It's now the norm that a recent college grad will have 5 to 7 different careers in their lifetime because companies aren't stable. The companies that were big and were growing are now doing what? They're downsizing and merging. And what are the startups doing? The onlines, the YouTube videos, all the little startups with Netflix, people making a movie on their cell phones. The entrepreneurial spirit is all about you. What can you bring to the table? How can you create your own stability? And it may not be one job. It may be a portfolio career. I'm an example of a portfolio career. I have speaking engagements, I have consulting contracts, and I have one-on-one clients. And I get a little bit of money from each of those, and I get a little fulfillment from each of them, and they're kind of different, but they all fold together to make a patchwork quilt career. I don't just have one job, I've got many jobs going in many different directions.
Hey Liz, sorry to interrupt. I have a question here that fits in with what you're talking about right now. Would it be okay to answer it?
Yes, please go with some questions.
So the question is, what about if your values are similar to a lot of other people in your field? This question gives an example of freelance creatives would all value, for example, creativity or independence. How do you stand out in that situation?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's interesting because the number one most important thing that you're trying to do, if you're trying to get jobs in an industry where you're very similar with other people in the industry, is that you're trying to connect, because people like to hire people that are like them. This is a little bit of a challenge in some careers, but in other careers, they want to get to know what you know, and if they like what you like, and if they trust you, how do you differentiate yourself is to go back to your own path, your own roadmap. Nobody has that roadmap. Nobody was born into the family you were born into. Nobody had the experiences that you've experienced. Nobody has the exact same combination of skills. So the challenge would be to go back to that description of who you are and identify what core values are similar to everybody in my industry, but what makes me unique. What's my SME is an industry term. What's my subject matter expertise? And then dig in. Does that sound like a little bit helpful?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get you. Let's go on, and then we'll cover some more questions towards the end.
Great idea. Great idea. So the challenge is to figure out your fit, to figure out where you belong. And so when we think about interviewing, when we think about the $1 million question, so what exactly are you looking for? There's 5 important things that you need to know that are the question, that are going to answer that question. The 5 questions that you have in order to answer the $1 million question about what exactly are you looking for are your 5 core values. When you look back at that list and somebody asks you, and you will be asked this if you're out networking, you're connecting with people, they're going to ask you, you need a job, how can I help you? Well, what are you looking for? And the example that Oleg gave me before, somebody can say, I'm looking for something in Los Angeles or whatever location you're in, where I can provide some leadership and some management. In my past job, I was a supervisor. I managed a staff of 10 in this financial ballpark. And you might have to tell people, you know, my salary history is 100 to 150,000. So don't waste your time applying for a job that's very, very low. And you want to have fun. What does fun mean to you? What does family mean to you? Why are those core values important? But the 5 most important questions to ask are your 5 core values. The other cool thing about those 5 core values is that people will ask you, so tell me about yourself. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something so I can trust you. And there's 5 things you should tell them. And those are your 5 core values. I'm a huge fan of journaling, getting it out of the up here and writing it down. Journaling the answer to the question, what exactly are you looking for? And using those 5 core values. If you're looking for stability and security, journal why. If that's a core value of yours, and I was to ask you, if you value in security and stability, you're likely to be the employee who probably never missed a day of work, never called in sick. If you hire me today, I will be there tomorrow. Trust me. Security and stability is important to me. I worked for the same company for 10 years. That's a core value you want to share with them. So tell me about yourself. Well, family is important. It's illegal for an HR manager to ask you, are you married? Do you have children? But if you're in an interview and you say to the person, I really think I'm a great fit for this job. Did you hear that? I'm a great fit for this job because this company seems to really care about people. And I really care about people. I really care about my family. And I'm a coach on the weekends. I teach Little League or soccer, and I want to participate here. And this is going to be a good working relationship because you value your employees and I value my employees like family. Yeah. Money. Let's talk money. Okay. I only coach my clients to get the best jobs at the best companies for the most amount of money. Why would I coach anything else? I don't want to coach clients to settle. I want my clients to coach for the top of the moon, to the top of the mountain. I mean, shoot for the moon, you land among the stars. Another fun Lizism. But if I'm coaching you to be the best at what you do, I want you working at the best companies with the best people. Here's another Lizism. People don't quit companies, they quit people. They get tired of the boss. They get tired of the management. They quit the people before they quit the company. So if you're motivated to make money, then fantastic. You're going to be an easy client. Because who are the highest paid people in any organization, in any company, in any industry? What are the titles of the people that are making the most amount of money? Okay, maybe not the CEO or the heads, but the people in the organization. And this is universal. Does anybody have a guess in the chat box? What's the title of employee that makes the most amount of money? They have no ceiling on how much they can make. Has anybody put a chat item or an answer in there, Oleg?
Yeah, we're getting sales, consultant, a CEO, business owner, consultant.
Yes, I love it.
Sales representative, the child of the owner. That's a good one.
Ding, 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 ding. If you were live in person, I would be tossing I usually would give out chocolate. That's my go-to on a reward basis is
We're
chocolate.
still getting like business development, management, supervisor.
Yep. The highest paid people in any organization are those that are in sales. Salespeople can make so much money because nothing happens until a sale has been made. Think about real estate sales. Is there a limit to how many houses you can sell? No. Salespeople can make commission. Salespeople can make bonuses. Salespeople are the most needed. And you know what? When you go back to that roadmap, do you need to have a certain degree to be in sales? No. Girl Scouts, they're selling cookies. They don't have degrees in that. And then I would love to know, raise your hands if you want a job in sales. How many people are going to raise their hand? They can click on the button and raise their hand. They want a job in sales. I would guess out of 100, we might get 5, maybe 10 hands going up. And here's what I want to teach everybody. Sales is not a bad word. Sales is a good thing. I love a sale. That's my favorite 4-letter word when I'm out and about. I still cut coupons at Ralph's because I love a sale. Salespeople are highly employable. And guess what job you all have now if you're looking for a job? If you're a job seeker and you're working on a resume and you're submitting things online and you're on LinkedIn, guess what job you have now? It's sales.
It looks like people in the chat are right in there with you.
Yeah, you are all selling yourself. This is the product. It's me. Here I am in this all I see is a little box on the screen. So it is about getting out there and meeting the people that have the potential for you to sell yourself to them. And so now we're back full circle to the number one most effective way to get a job is networking. And yet the days of networking like this are over for a while. Maybe this is going to go around the world. Some places are a little more open than others, but this is the new normal. This is the new way to connect. It's like this. It's on Zoom. It's online. It's groups. It's also
Hey Liz,
one-on-one.
somebody in the chat just posted they have to leave because they have a job interview.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you, the $1 million question should be asked at the beginning of every interview before you get into the interview. After the first question, so tell me about yourself. You can turn it on them. And you can say, before we get into this interview, I have one really important question that Liz Mohler taught me. Well, you don't have to say that part. But what you can say is, before we get into this conversation in this interview, what exactly are you looking for? And I hope that person who leaves to go on the interview heard that comment, because for all of you, people will tell you, this is what we need. We need a supervisor who's got this experience and this skills to do this job, but what we really need is this. And if you're in an interview and you've asked that question at the beginning of the interview, you then have the entire interview to answer to that question and why you're a really good fit. I wonder if that interview is like this. That is likely to be the way that interviews are going to go for a while, is on a screen. And the beauty of this is that you can be on the screen, but you can have a page of notes. And the other tricky thing about networking is that I always coach my clients to be prepared before the interview. Do your research. Know as much as you can about the company, about the person you're connecting with. We're now living in a very transparent world where we can Google people and we can find out a lot of information about the people that we're going to be connecting with. And I think this is something that a lot of job seekers, they don't do as much. They go to the homepage or the website of the company and they study the homepage, they study the website, but they don't go the extra mile. They don't Google the people that they're going to be connecting with. They don't read the news articles. They don't look at the industry as a whole and study up on the industry. I work with a lot of lawyers that get fed up with being lawyers and they want to do something completely different. And they're really eager to like work for a new startup. And because they're creative and they're also very curious, they're fun to coach because they start to dig in and they get background information. How did this company start? Who's in charge of this company? What are the articles? What's the competition? When I coach clients, I say expect multiple offers, because if one company's hiring for someone in your type of role that you want, there's likely to be 2 or 3 others. And we want to explore and research and get as much information as we can. Any other questions in the chat before I keep going?
So there's a few people have commented on what you're talking about right now, especially the question, which is the second question that you mentioned. When they tell about yourself, when you turn that question around on them, what if they say like, we have 3 positions we're considering for? So how do you? Yeah.
Yeah, the more, I mean, that's the good news. When you find a company with 1 opening or 2 openings, it's likely there's more, and they're more, but they're in the hidden job market. And the hidden job market is a whole nother animal to diagnose, because you've got to understand good companies, the best companies, they don't advertise because they may get inundated with applications. But the not so good companies, the challenging 100% commission, not very trustworthy companies, if you've been looking for a job, you've seen them popping up with ads all the time. And they're desperate to hire because they're a churn and burn. People don't make it. They don't last very long. So the challenge is when you start to see a company with multiple opportunities, that's your responsibility to dig in and research and ask them the $1 million question. I see you've got 3 openings, but what exactly are you looking for? And then you line up what they're looking for against your 5 core values to see if it's a good fit. And if it's not a good fit, then don't apply.
And then a related question also to this is, isn't what they're looking for already in the listing?
Yes. And how many of you have seen job descriptions that are like 2 or 3 pages long? As if like 5 different people in the department all said, I want this, and I want this, and I want them to do this, and they have to have these skills and these skills and these skills and these skills. But when you're interviewing with one person, you can ask them, what exactly are you looking for? But maybe what exactly is your boss looking for? Or if you're talking to a recruiter, the recruiter will say, well, they want everything on a 3-page job description. But you've got to understand what's most important to them so that you can be a good fit for what they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some, let's see. We've got some other questions that are not totally related to what you're saying right at this moment. But do you want to continue with the presentation and then
let's continue, and then we'll
Okay.
circle back, because I love the questions, and we're going to kind of dive into it. So when I talk about networking, it fascinates me because people say they don't like networking. And I go, I know it's a bit of a necessary evil, because you're not going to get a job until you get out there and you start to get to know about a different company or a different job or a different person. And you can't get to like them if you're not having a conversation. So let's all take a deep breath, and, we're going to catch some air. So this is an acronym that I like to coach because I like to keep things simple. Networking is as simple as catching air. So take a walk on the beach, take a deep breath, make yourself ready to make some phone calls, and I'm going to walk you through this process. Step 1, if you are out there ready to start networking, number 1 is set the stage by asking for advice. Do not call somebody up and say, I need a job. because they will run the other way. There is still a stigma about the unemployed. Something's wrong with you. So we do not reach out to our contacts and say, hey, do you have a job for me? Can you hire me? I need money. I really need to work. I'm unemployed. I got furloughed. I got laid off. I need a job. They will not respond. They will possibly say something like, send me your resume. And here's what I have to say about resumes. Resumes do not get jobs. People do. You're going to have to get beyond the resume. So when you're networking, you want to start with a great first impression. A great first impression is asking somebody for advice. You're going to reach out and say, you know, I'm reaching out because I value your opinion. I'm reaching out because you're an expert in your field. I'm reaching out because I've admired your work, or whatever it is. I value your opinion and I'd like to have your advice. How does that make you feel? What do you think about a person who approaches you and uses that angle? Says, gosh, Liz, you're a life coach, you're a career coach, you've been doing this for 20 years. Do you have any advice for me? I would be flattered. Your responsibility and goal for 2021 is to start flattering people. Start making them feel good. Start asking people for advice, because people love to give advice. And we think really highly of the person asking for advice, because we say, gosh, that person was so like courageous. They just called me up and asked for my advice. They researched me. They reached out to me. They asked for my advice. I'm going to call them back. I'm going to answer their phone calls. I love to give advice, but that's not it. Number two, this is a two-way street. And when I say two-way street, you need to be ready to give them information about who you are as much as you need to share information that you know who they are. So be ready to have information that you already know about them. Use the internet, use Google, do your homework about their company, their business, maybe even about their life. Go on Facebook, make sure that if you're reaching out to an old friend, are they married? Are their kids doing well? What's going on? Get your information in order before you reach out to network. But be ready to share with them the answer to the question, so tell me about yourself, because they may ask you that, and you may want to ask them that. That's the sharing of information. That's the middle of catching air. And then number three is the letter R. And this is where, when you're networking, what you hope to get from someone that you're networking with might be some resources. They might say, oh, I didn't know you were interested in writing a screenplay, or I didn't know you were interested in getting a job in the hotel business, or, you know, let me give you some resources. Why don't you try this resource, this resource, this resource? And here's a hint. You know who loves to give out resources? Librarians. They're great at this. Resources, referrals might even be better. If they say, you know who you should talk to is so-and-so. You should talk to so-and-so. That person could really, really help you. And the icing on the cake is when they say, I already know you, and now I know you even more. I like you. I trust you. I'm going to recommend you. And when you're recommended for a job, you're more likely to get it. That's why on most applications, they ask you, who were you referred by? How did you hear about this opening? Anywhere you go to get a job, I want you to get to know someone and let them get to know you, and decide if you like them and they like you before you fill out the application, so that you can put in that application the name of the person that recommended you. Because that's the real ticket in getting a networking conversation going. Is that helpful? Does that make sense?
It definitely does make sense, and I appreciate the shout out to librarians.
Absolutely. As I've said, I've worked with librarians for over 10 years, and they are just a wealth of knowledge. So is the internet. And we're now living in a world where if you've got someone with a computer skill set, and I recommend anybody between 5 years old and 25 years old, they're really good at the internet. Get them to help you Google and find out as much information as you can about what it is you want to do. Yes.
So I have a few questions that actually fit in with that. Would you like to go on to the question and answer, or do you still have more to present?
No, let's go with the questions. What are some of the questions?
Okay, so this is actually, these questions fit perfectly with what you're saying right now with the internet, because a few people have asked, for example, what if I don't have any connections in a certain company? How do I how do I network in this environment?
You know what? If you've got a dream goal at a dream company, actually your job search is going to be even easier because now all that energy goes to that company, that job. And then what you do is you go out to everybody you know and you ask them, does anybody know anybody who knows anybody at this company? So if you want, and did they give an example of the name of the company or the?
They didn't give an example of the name of the company. They did ask a small follow-up whether it's okay to reach out to the hiring manager, just reach out on LinkedIn, just straight to the people that work there.
I'm a huge fan of go to the decision maker. If you can reach the decision maker and you can ask the decision maker the $1 million question, what exactly are you looking for? And you can even shorten it to, how can I help? If you find a busy company and you see people that are working really, really hard and you ask them, do you need help? How can I help? Who do I talk to offer to help? I've had clients walk on construction sites and they talk to enough people on the construction site and they go, where's the foreman? Because I know how to drill, I know how to do sheetrock, I know how to drywall, I know how to do this. Do you need help? And they go right to the decision maker and that's how they get the job. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's good for LinkedIn and just in general online.
Yes.
So let me give you a few more questions because we've got some questions coming in and they're really worthwhile related to things that you've been presenting here. So there's a few questions about how to answer certain questions at interviews. So for example, the question like, why should we hire you? What's the best way to address that?
There's 5 parts to that answer. When somebody says, why should we hire you? The number one answer is because I'm a really good fit. That's it. And if you've done your homework, you can match up your 5 core values. Your company is looking for someone in the South Bay or in the neighborhood. I've lived in this community for years. Location. Your company is looking for somebody that's going to make them money or save them money. I'm passionate about making money and saving money. You're looking for somebody who is fun and creative. Whatever your core values are, if you make it a win-win situation, that's a Stephen Covey line, the 7 habits of highly effective people, it's got to be win-win. It's not up here. They're not this boss up here and you're down here. We have to even the playing field. That you're a really good fit. So why should I hire you? Because if you're looking for this, I've got this. You're looking for that, I've got that. You're looking for this experience, I've got this experience. This skills, I've got these skills. This education, I've got this education. I think it's a really good fit. Yeah.
All right. And so one of the questions that we've got here is this person has gone to interviews and they've gotten 2 questions that they would like advice on how to answer effectively. The first is, why do you want to leave the company that you're currently at? And the second is, how do you resolve a conflict with a coworker?
Oh, great. Great questions. Because what they're digging at is they want something negative. And I always coach my clients, we're on the top of the mountain. We're heading to the top of the mountain. Don't go low. Do not ever badmouth a past employer. Do not throw people under the bus. It's not worth it. We do not burn bridges when we're climbing a mountain because we might need to backpedal to go around that mountain. And some of you may successfully get hired at a place you used to work. I know I did. I worked for a company. I decided I was going to travel around the world. And then I traveled around the world. I came back and I couldn't find a job. And I called my old boss and I said, can I come back? And he said, oh, you're done traveling around the world? I said, yes, I need a job. He said, come back. So when you're asked why you left a previous company, it wasn't a good fit.
And what if the person was only at the previous job for a short time? Does that make a difference when you're in the way that you present the fact that you left?
Yeah, if you were only there for a short time, I hope you can explain it a little bit. As I said, most people quit within 30 days. So I sometimes would even coach a client, don't even put that job on the resume. don't even, I mean, if there's a gap in employment, you have to explain it. But if you worked at a job and you did your best and you tried and it just wasn't the right fit, you can answer it, it wasn't the right fit, and then quickly move on to what I'm looking for next is, so that you don't get caught going down into that negative space. Yeah. There was another part of that question, the second part, Oleg.
Yes.
I do a lot of work, with what I call success stories. I want my clients to really, in phase one, wrap their head around, who am I? What experiences have I had? What skills and things like that. And so, taking the time to get your stories in order, your accomplishments and your success stories, will help you answer some of those challenging questions, like what we call behavioral interview questions. Tell me about a time when you had a conflict. And you've got to think about a success story and see what was the conflict and how did I resolve it. Before I forget, I'm going to post in the chat a link to a survey information. It has the outline for your 5 core values. It also has the outline for answering the question, so tell me about yourself, because that reminded me, like, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? And then I also would encourage people to connect with me on LinkedIn, because that's kind of the new resume. Resumes are almost obsolete because of LinkedIn. Now I say that, but I will also say there's a lot of industries I coach that are not on LinkedIn. The guy that helps out in the yard, as my yard guy's not on LinkedIn, and my entertainment clients and my executives are also not on LinkedIn because they don't want to be found. So it's a catch-22, and it's more of a one-on-one conversation about using LinkedIn. But I'm doing a workshop on LinkedIn tomorrow. So if people connect with me on LinkedIn, if they have LinkedIn and they want to learn more about it, you can fill out that form and I'll send you an invitation to join my LinkedIn Lunch and Learn. So that's tomorrow. But we got another 5-10 minutes for questions. Have you gotten some other good questions?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we've got questions coming in. So here's an important question, because I know that we have a lot of people in this chat in this program who are older adults and are looking to get back to work or just change something about their. So how do you address ageism when it comes to looking for work or at an interview, etc.?
Ageism is alive and well. And so what you need to do is you need to acknowledge it and say to yourself, okay, am I going to be too young? And they're going to think I don't have the experience and that I'm not mature enough. And what can I do to dress to impress and acknowledge my background and my experiences of value? Or if I'm feeling aged out, if I'm over 50 or over 60 or over 40, trying to get a job at an internet startup, what is it that I bring to the table? I might bring my wisdom and my calm knowledge. And we're in a world of 2021 where diversity is king, diversity is queen. So if we go into a job where it's a bunch of people that are exactly the same and we're a little different, we need to let them know, I'm a little different. I'm a little older. I'm a little younger. Whatever that age discrimination is that a good fit for you? Do you need help with someone that has that perspective? Because I guarantee my age is different, so I'm going to have a different perspective. And if that company is willing to embrace that different perspective, then you've got a good fit. If they're not willing to look beyond the age discrimination, is that going to be a good job for you? Are you going to be happy there? Maybe not. Yeah.
So we've had a few questions about like motivation to search for jobs, confidence, self-trust. How would you recommend that people keep their motivation up in if somebody's been searching for a job for a long time or hasn't been searching for a job and needs to get back into searching for a job? How do you recommend that they keep up their motivation and they build up their confidence?
Those are the biggest things that I work with clients one-on-one, is the confidence and the self-esteem and the motivation, because it's really hard when you feel like you're down in the valley of the mountaintop and you can see the mountain, but you're stuck in the valley. And the motivation and the self-confidence to go up that mountaintop to achieve those goals is movement. And I simplify my realize your potential. Review your scores, review who you are and where you've been. Put that resume somewhere where you see it every day and go, I got that degree. I got that experience. What have you done? And then also the other thing is connections and networking. And don't do it alone. Find a coach or find a buddy that can be your accountability buddy. Find a support group of people that can help you, whether it's your family or whether it's your spiritual church synagogue group or somebody else that is struggling that you can help, might make you feel better to do something. I used to call it a taxi job. If it's a volunteer job or an activity, pick up a new hobby, pick up a new something. So you're doing something. It's that action. And that's that third phase of taking action. And sometimes you need to kind of go in rotation. Realize your potential, visualize your goal, and then actualize your dreams by taking action. What small step can you do today? What one person can you reach out to on a phone call? And then that one person should turn into 3. And I always coach my clients, talk to 3 different people. Because the first one, you're a little nervous and they might say, no, you can't become a doctor. You can't go to medical school. No, that's impossible. I don't think you're going to do well. And you're going to say, hey, I just would like a little advice, a little information. And they might recommend some resources or references for you. And then maybe you make that second call and you present it to the second person. I really want to go to med school. I really want to be a doctor or whatever that goal is. And you're going to go from a no to a maybe. But if you get resources and referrals and do some research, maybe by the time you call the third person, they might be the one that says, yeah, I think you could do that. I'll support you on that. That's a great idea. You've done your homework. You've done your research. You've got some resources. You've got some referrals. Talk to 3 people. Don't stop after one call. And if you get 3 negative people, find 3 positive people.
That's not, yeah, the power of just starting small and building up. I don't think there's few things that are like that bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
So I've got let's see. I'm just trying to combine a few questions here. So what do you say if the person that you worked for in the past, like you've been in a job for a long time, but you leave and that person doesn't want to be a reference? How could you get around that, or how can you get referrals, or how can you get references?
Ooh, references. I love references. And nowadays with the internet and with LinkedIn, sometimes we don't get to choose our references. We don't get to pick our references. So be careful who you surround yourself with. Go ahead and surround yourself with good quality people as best you can. And when those references, and then line up those references, maybe even have a catching air conversation where you ask them for their advice and you ask them for information. You ask them, what do they think some of your strengths are? What do they think your skills and knowledge are? And take copious notes. Write down what people say about you. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to learn from that feedback. And then you can choose whether to use them as a reference or not. And if you worked at a place that didn't give you a good reference, or you're afraid about the reference, you may reach out to a coworker or a colleague, maybe not the boss, but someone, maybe it was a customer or a supplier or somebody that knew you related to that work, and maybe they could be a reference for you. So find somebody else. Maybe it's an old teacher, maybe it's a personal reference, a classmate, a neighbor, somebody that'll vouch for who you are. But in doing that, you've got to catch air and you've got to tell them who you are. They may only know one side of you from work. They don't know your family background, your education background, other skills. So you've got to lead them down that path of what you want them to be a reference for.
All right, it is 12:15. Do you have time for one more question, Liz?
I do. And as I said, I posted in the chat the link to fill out the survey. I'll put it here again, so that I would love to get to know who's on the call. I'm speaking right now to a computer screen. I know there's 100 people out there, and I am here to help. And it doesn't matter where you're living or where you are. If I can't help you, I can refer you to somebody who can. And so, yeah, I can answer another question, or I can tell people to connect with me through that questionnaire.
So there are a few other questions that they were not able to answer. So if you all have posted questions that we weren't able to get to today, by all means, connect to Liz and she'll be happy to talk to you after. So the final question is, it's another LinkedIn question. How much job information should a person post on their account? Is it better to post more or to post less? or, how do you decide?
That's a great question. And LinkedIn is a fascinating tool. And the LinkedIn, they're changing all the time. LinkedIn is upgrading things and changing things. And so that's why tomorrow from 12 to 1, I'm doing a whole Q&A Zoom call about LinkedIn. And there's no one right answer on LinkedIn. It's people are going to glance at it like they do a resume, which this is a Lizism, 7 to 10 seconds. They're going to spend 7 to 10 seconds looking through the LinkedIn. Or if it's not a person looking with their own eyes, it's going to be AI, which is the artificial intelligence. And they're just looking for keywords. So depending on what kind of work you want or what job you want to fill your LinkedIn with as many keywords as you can. So a robot will find you and put your resume to the top of the pile. And so I think it's important to have enough information in there that guides the person to where you want to go. And you can always add more because there's what we call below the fold. So only the first 2 or 3 sentences are going to show up under each job description anyway.
So once again, thank you very much, Liz. There's a lot of people posting in the chat about how thankful they are and how great the information that you presented was. And so we 100% appreciate it. Thank you for participating in Work Ready, Liz. And thank you all for sticking with us. It is 12:20, and I hope everybody has a good afternoon and good evening.
Thank you, Oleg. Nice chatting with everybody.